think 12 o'clock is a great time to start.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, it cuts into a day. So when we start at 12, basically, it means that
We have the rest of the day to do.
yeah, and I like to have all of my day before the show because then I feel like I can relax because I don't have anything afterwards, which isn't really true. I always have calls afterwards.
So, good afternoon or good evening, good morning, wherever you are
Wherever
in the
you
world.
are right now. Our guest is in Australia, in Brisbane.
And that's why we're here at 12.
And that's why we're here at 12. And we're going to be on with Richie Nelson, father of 5. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Father of 5. He's got, we said 3 to 5 because all of his kids are 3 to 5. Is that right?
No, we said 3 to 5 because it's 2 different women and it's complicated.
5 kids. And basically, at some point, he says, I can't do this shit anymore. And then he went under the knife and he got a vasectomy.
Yeah.
And you were so excited by this show.
Do you know, it's not about the show, it's about him.
By the way, we're on with Richie Nelson and we're discussing his vasectomy. Where are we doing that on, Bambos?
A wonderful chaos, Mr. Shayla.
A wonderful chaos.
So before we go, I just want to acknowledge Mr. JC
Hello,
Barnett,
JC Barnett.
our hat stylist.
Our hat. This isn't from JC. He would actually be opposed to this. It's not
God.
Kentucky.
Sorry.
Kentucky, but I can find my Kentucky whiskey hat or something around. Kentucky Derby.
I can't tell the difference actually. But JC Barnett, 6 a.m. and listening, we love you.
Love you.
So I didn't get excited about the subject. I actually woke up at 4:30 in the morning to do my morning rituals. I got my phone off airplane mode to turn on my breathing app.
Okay.
And then for some reason, I just pushed on Facebook like automatic, which I never do. And then I got captured by this long ass post that he put about his vasectomy. And what a fucking vulnerable share. Like I'm reading this, and of course I'm like half sleeping. I need to do my breath work, but it just captured me. I'm like, wow, this guy has big kahunas in his tight little pants.
Wow.
So then I thought, let's bring him on the show. And I messaged him, and he was like, yeah, man, let's do it. Let's do it.
That's beautiful. That's how most of our shows actually come about, right? Is capturing some sort of moment in someone's life that gets us curious enough to say, let's have a show together.
Yeah. And the fact that he said yes, and I already felt him being on the show, it's not going to be like, oh, we're going to have to tiptoe around the subject. He's really open to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I actually met him in an online men's group a few years ago.
Oh, really?
We didn't connect a lot.
Okay.
But it's also the same circle of friends that we have met Bulelang.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
So it was all these guys from around the world. And
yeah, a lot of Australians actually in that group. We have Dennis Redbart as well. Is it Dennis Redbart? Is that his first name?
Dennis Redbart, yeah.
Yeah, we have Dennis Redbart as well doing.
Well, this was Nianiso's men's group that we've also had on the show.
Beautiful. Well, it would be nice to bring Richie on then.
Why don't we just do that?
Hey, Richie Nelson.
Don't look at your notes.
Yeah. What was the most important event that's ever happened to you in your life?
Probably this moment right now.
Good answer.
Yeah, there we go.
I always laugh when people have asked me to give them a list of the questions we ask people on our show.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, I can't say that a list of questions would be relevant to every guest on the show. You know, there would be sort of things that come up that interest me, and then that guides the discussion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, could you imagine like asking the questions you're probably, maybe thought a little bit about asking me to somebody who maybe hadn't gone and done the things that I've done? You're like, that could be actually a really good way to start it. And they'd be like, oh, we're on the wrong podcast.
Yeah, that would be great to have a list of questions for a different topic and then ask them to the individual. I'd enjoy that.
Just totally mess with them. Say,
so Bambos, how are you feeling right now? Because I enjoyed this type of conversation, and I always notice that at some point you stop me and you're like, Andy, no more of this. Get to the real topic.
I'm seeing where you're going.
Inward. Going it starts on the outside, circles in. Yeah.
So tell me, let's walk back. When you first had the initial set of toddlers, was this a decision you made, or was it like it happened to you because it wasn't planned? Like, give me a sense of, did you plan to be a dad to this many kids?
I don't think I did consciously, but the funny thing is if you look at like on both sides of my parents and the partner I'm with now, there's pretty much like a pattern of like 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And since I've done this 5 thing, I've just keep meeting people who are like my age or a little bit older that have got this 5 kid thing going on as well, which is just like, oh, so I sort of fulfilled the prophecy. And I was like, well, 2 of mine, like with my previous partner, 2 of these 5 are also my partners, like they're hers. And we had a baby girl like 16 months ago, I think it is now. Okay. So, you know, 2 and 2 and 1 is 5. So it's like, it's just easy to say, well, I got like 5 kids.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they're like, how old are they? I'm like, they range from 1-year-old to 11. So, yeah. So definitely, oh man, I did not plan to, but I always was like, I love kids though. I love kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why is it so quiet there, by the way? Just out of curiosity, because I think with 5 kids, you would have like hysteria in the background.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, well, gosh, it's a long story. It's complicated.
They're chained up in the back room right now in a soundproof.
Okay, so my partner and I, we were living in Adelaide together, and so she actually used to be my business coach, and we met at her retreat and hooked up, traveled the world. And I came back to Adelaide, and she had her kids in Portugal with their dad. And basically, she came back here to out to Australia, to Adelaide, to be back with me. And we got a place in Adelaide. And within like the first week, it was like, okay, we're pregnant. So then it was like, guess we better pull our socks up. And get into it. And we also had just started, we had our separate businesses. We sort of merged it together and created our own business, coaching business. And literally, man, like it was like, bang, we've met, we're here. We've both got 2 kids and, can I swear here? It was like,
yes,
shit,
of course.
like, it was more like fuck, not shit. Yeah. It was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like, but I kind of knew that we'd done it. Like, it created this new life. Like, when I was like, whoa, I think we should get that checked. And then we just journeyed this huge thing, guys, of getting a house, building this business up, and then having like kids coming, like, living near my previous partner. And then COVID hit, and then it was like, so I was planning on chilling out. Like, I was like, we're going to, scale this business, group delivery stuff. And I'm just going to just relax a bit because I've been doing all this other stuff. And I was like, yeah, nah, it wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and to get to like, where are the kids now? Coronavirus, like the whole thing that happened with the world, the pressure of that, working from home, being in business with my partner, with all these kids and that, it was just chaos. It's just like the hardest thing, I think. It was like all of the, if this was a game, you're like hard, extra hard, like, it was just like, are you nuts? And it was like, so we decoupled. And I left Adelaide. We worked it all, discussed it all, and was like, look, neither of us are happy here. This isn't good for the kids. We need to take a break and work shit out. And that was really hard. And started a new business while running the other business and driving from Adelaide to like Sydney, then up to Queensland, and like ran this workshop for the men, the Spiral. And I actually ended up getting to Queensland before my partner Ellie did, because she was returned, because she's from Queensland. And it's been like a whirlwind, like just doing different Airbnb every week. And right now, so I got 2 kids in Adelaide, and the other 3 kids are with Ellie on the Gold Coast. They're about an hour away.
Yeah.
And I just got this apartment a couple of weeks ago. I just got so done with traveling and was like, I need to land. So
I think so many people have gone through similar experiences during COVID, being in this small space where they would normally have a release mechanism of being gone or having time off or having been able to talk with colleagues at work. So just to give enough space so that the tensions in the house don't escalate out of control. So yeah, it's
yeah. I don't know how
So-
people were doing it in studio apartments, but
Yeah.
I feel for them. Yeah.
So Richie, you're going through all this. It feels like high tension.
Oof.
Where
Yeah.
were you when you actually sat down with yourself and said, I'm gonna have a vasectomy? Like how were you feeling in that moment?
You know, I guess like the whole time we were journeying the pregnancy, every day I was like, what the fuck have I done? Like, there's this never-ending like sense of, I can't believe that happened. Maybe she's, manipulated or tricked me, because of like previous wounds and things I hadn't dealt with. And which was great because it meant I had to start dealing with them. But in the moment, it was like, and so the pressure it put, it highlighted where we were weak every day, 100 times a day. And in a way, it also highlighted where we were really strong, which sort of gave perspective as well to just how amazing this relationship and partner is. And but it stretched me. It stretched me, like all of those forces and factors on top of each other. It was just like, I've had some interesting experiences near death, like journeying all these things with being in business for pretty much my whole life and already having had kids. And I was like, this is some next level fucking, like, I've never faced myself and my shit this often, this much, at such an intensity that, I'm a happy motherfucker. I love life. I love living. And a lot of the time I was like, this can't be my life. Like I am working so hard inwardly and there's all these things happening outside and I'm a leader for other leaders who are leading other people in a business, and to still be able to go through all of that shit and keep the family together and, looking at myself every day, like, how can I be in integrity and do this stuff? And there's like imposter syndrome, there's the doubts, the fears, and then there's like, well, I got to get shit done. I got to pay bills. I made a promise to this person that I'd help them solve their problems. And meanwhile, like, she's pregnant and I'm like, I've got to help. Like, it's like being stretched in like every angle. And it's like, sometimes you're like, you chose like it. Sometimes I'd have to sort of just cry and laugh at the same time. And I didn't really, this is probably the first time I've really talked about that publicly outside of like a private workshop or container or with so you really pulled it out of me that, man, it just, I guess this is therapy, isn't it? Like, so thank you.
Yeah. You said something that I'd like to go to when you were talking emotionally, that there was stuff going on. Like, can you share what kind of stuff was that? Because I had to imagine it. I couldn't even really touch what that would look like.
Well, this triggered for me all of these forces. Is like a perfect storm. And with the business, it's still the same sort of purpose, new business with True Target Coaching as Conscious Hustlers was the previous one, where we're here to help, and I'm here to help people create more freedom in their life, get on a true target. Or for the other thing, it was more money related. But with overall, it was like, if you say to other people, I'm going to be this guy or this girl or whatever it is, right? Like, I'm going to help people with this thing. It's almost like you activate like a thing where the universe just drops its stacks and goes, you want to be that person here, you like prove it. And so I said I wanted to be like the guy for everything. So I said I wanted to be the guy, the mindset guy for the business owners to help people with freedom, and especially the emotional freedom. And I put myself, I believe that before we're born, at least this is how I look at it, that we choose it all and then forget that we chose it, just to have, a real hell of a time. And it could be a fun game. And, obviously I'm avoiding answering your question a bit, but that frames it for me. It's like,
I didn't know. Do I want to ask a follow-up to dig in? Because I guess
I know what I'm doing.
I don't know if you knew what you're doing or if I was just trying to.
I'm just trying to like get the answer right. I guess it's still very fresh, fellas.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm.
Well, let me reframe the question then, so it's less driven towards the.
No, I really, it was triggering.
Yeah.
Manipulation wounds from women.
Right,
but it's sort of like a clusterfuck of like emotional wounds and stuff. But it was really like, at first it was at the tip of it.
But can we slow that down? Can we slow that down a bit? Because now when you said that, like I could feel like almost tears come up inside of me, because now I could connect with that state of mind. Before I was thinking, now I'm feeling like, oh shit, yeah.
It's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
Like even being with you right now for the last quarter of the hour, I just feel a huge pressure in my heart. And then I look at you and I'm thinking, take whatever I'm feeling, take whatever he's feeling, then magnify it by infinity.
Yeah. So there would have been, it's funny how we as men will feel sometimes the idea or the sense of manipulation from the female. I have to go back to memories of my past, by the way, because this is now I live today. So like I have to regress to the 20-year-old version of me. Or maybe 30s as well. 35.
Yeah.
No. But it's interesting because I often see when I'm talking to people today that men will often say, hey, I don't want a relationship, but I want to date, and I don't want to dedicate, or just let it unfold. Don't hold me to anything. And then what I'm seeing from often, and this isn't always the case, but this is often what I'm interacting with right now. So I know there's going to be people that say, hey, this isn't the way it is, but this is what I'm encountering at the moment, is that the woman wanting more from a relationship, and then they'll start to, in some ways, manipulate, whatever that word is, the man into feeling that, hey, why aren't you wanting more, in that kind of dynamic. This isn't Vamos I'm speaking to, by the way.
So you're actually saying that men want the sex without the responsibility, and the women can feel that the man is not taking responsibility. So actually, I don't like the word manipulation.
Yeah, I don't either.
I would actually say that the women are creating a storm to bring the men into present, and like, hey, fucking own this. Like if you want to penetrate me, then also stand up and fully own this connection. And I'm wondering, if you hear us speak, Richie, how does that relate to you?
There's many things, and like first and foremost, it's not to say to anyone watching that I actually think I was manipulated. I think that's important.
Let's qualify that. I think that's important to state. I use that word because when we are regressing to an earlier state, we feel manipulated, although the intention of the other person is connection. So when we use the word, it's not that it was manipulation, it's the experience from that childhood self. I just to qualify it, because I also felt myself sensitive to that word as well.
Well, you see, that's why it's just, this is the thing is, I mean, it's been the most amazing experience journeying this stuff. And it's what I wanted, and it just wasn't a thing that I consciously, it's like, hey, I want this to be this, I want this outcome. And it's like, life's like, well, I'm going to throw you this way and you will get there quicker. And you just got to sort of surrender to that process. And so with that, what I came to was, because of what happened, say, when my parents broke up, and there was things that happened, not to go into full depth with that, just that you know, mum had to leave and she had to make a choice, and she made the best choice she could. And I thought we'd already as a family unit decided things. And so next minute we're living, you know, in a halfway home, and I don't know where dad is. And so obviously I didn't talk to my mum for like 10 years because I was a kid. I didn't understand, like 10 years. And she was like my best friend, you know, she still is now. Right. And yeah, there's the anger at mum, there's the anger at dad. And then underneath that, there's guilt. Like, because that's what the manipulation connects to. It's a feeling of shame and guilt. Like, well, there's not enough money, or there's not enough safety, or there's not enough space, or there's not enough connection and time, or not enough whatever it is. And so I guess that I remember making Alice with Ellie. Like I remember, and I remember it all. And I was also like at a time where I was like, maybe I'm being manipulative, because there was a part of me that when it happened, I was like, well, I know, I guess, what I'm doing here. And I sort of trusted what I thought she wanted. She trusted what she thought I wanted. And then we both were like, we both chose this. We both allowed this. We both manipulated the situation to get what we want, when really we just didn't know how to talk about what we wanted, because it was such a taboo, scary, lack of awareness thing. And of course, so we just trusted and did the thing. And I called out our baby girl Alice because it means the truth.
Richie, can I just
yeah.
You said it was a taboo. Can you actually name what the subject was taboo? Like what would be the conversation you would have now based on where you are right now?
I think the truth is the taboo. Like anything around truly looking at, well, what do you want for the rest of your life, with me?
Yeah. And
for yourself, like really, like, do you really want to be doing this for another 60 years? Like, and everything that involves, because I've got skeletons I don't know about, and so do you. And we've shared some dark shit. I've shared more, and she's shared more with me than with anyone I've ever met. Trust her more than anyone, more than any therapist, anyone. So it's like, and that was back then. So it's like the taboo is the truth for me. It's like, does that make sense?
Bro, Jesus. As you're speaking, I just feel so much love for you.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot of things, including love right now. But yeah, thank you.
What comes up for you when we discuss this, by the way? How are you emotionally going through this?
Most like right now, I'm like on the edge of my mind's seat going, okay, they're getting it straight off the dome here. I haven't rehearsed this more than I've said it to anybody. And I'm sharing things that I haven't shared with anybody else. And I've been hiding. Like I've been so, not just hiding, busy building and penetrating the world and making sure that everything stayed together while Ellie got to the Gold Coast, because I was running the business and sending money, and it was like, now we're transitioning it, and it's like I'm feeling a sense of relief, relief, acknowledgement, finally, kind of like, oh, I did that. This is what I've been every day. I'm like, I should write a post about what the fuck I'm doing with my life, and got to talk to this person, or got to do this thing. And it's like, when will I ever share my truth with the world? Because I know someone needs to hear this. Like, you know, and shout out to Ellie for having my back through all of this, and everybody else who has. Yeah. It's like pride.
Yeah.
Pride and the fear of being judged. A little bit of that there still. Like, so obviously there's something like, will they, same with the vasectomy thing. It's like, will everybody understand? Like, will they see me for, like, I'm not some, like, being a coach or a, you know, someone helping people with growing their business or working on their mindset. It's like, sometimes being a leader, you're like, oh, I've got to be like built up and strong, or a dad, you know, I've got to look, you know, but it's like, we do this. Parents, leaders, men, women do this too. It's not exclusive. It's just, you know, when you do things and you start taking responsibility for them, it's like, fuck, like I'm still a kid, really. Like I can just vote, drink alcohol, and, you know, drive a car, and maybe all, you know, like there's not really who wrote the book. I'm just writing it, and
yeah,
that's fucking crazy, you know, like, yeah, it's crazy, but we're doing it.
Yeah, you nailed it. We're kids. I was talking with a friend of mine 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and she was going through something with her mother, and as she was talking, I saw her body collapsing. And in that moment, I'm like, wow, I'm not talking to the 35-year-old anymore. I'm talking to the 6-year-old. Like in that room with me, it was a 6-year-old. And how I know this is because I've done that so many times that he's mirrored me.
Yeah, okay.
That I now recognize it when it's happening. So we are kids.
Yeah, there's all kinds of parts and pieces and people inside of us. It's and they all need love.
Yeah. I was my wife's nieces were here this weekend, and it's funny because like I don't, you know, I'm sometimes
He doesn't have kids.
No, I don't have kids. I'm very aware of social cues, but a lot of times I don't care. And other times I'm just like, I let my brain go, like if I'm on acid and now I'm just experiencing life as a child again. So no, I don't have a reference for acid, Bambos. But
I was like, did I miss something?
No, you didn't miss anything.
He's on acid right now.
So I'm on the jungle gym playing with the kids, right? Like totally barely fitting into these things. And I'm looking at Ronnie, looking at me, and thinking, Jesus Christ, I've got this 50-year-old husband on the jungle gym with these kids, you know, like, what am I doing? And I was just like feeling the joy of playing in this jungle gym. Like, why am I not going to go down this slide? Like, who the hell told me I'm not allowed to enjoy life at 50, you know?
I've seen you do the cable thing, right? And I filmed you.
Yeah. I'll always do the cable thing. Like, you know, this hanging, I don't know what they call them. The
flying fox.
The flying foxes. Yeah, we have a lot of those around the city.
We have a few around the city.
Except I'm so heavy that the thing drops and I roll in the sand, so it doesn't actually get it going.
Hey, if it feels good, do it, man.
That's my point. My point exactly. But yeah, there's a sad reality that we believe that there's things we cannot do, and there's an adulthood like thing that stops us just from enjoying the child in us. Yeah.
Well, that's yeah.
Well, you really touched on something also. Like there's an idea, and let's talk about men because that's that's the context. There's an idea that we need to live up to a certain thing.
Yeah.
And as you were speaking there, I remember every time I tried to live up to an idea of what it means to be a man or a father or a partner, photographer, I would collapse because I could never actually live up to the idea. And so I really could connect to you in that space.
Yeah.
And it's only when I started finding more peace in not having to perform, but just grounding wherever I am in the moment. And I also shared in a few shows ago that I was gonna have sex with my ex and I couldn't get it up. And I was like, oh, it doesn't want to come out and play.
Yeah.
And then we had a lot of fun where I can imagine 10 years ago, it would have been like, oh, fuck, what's going on? And like, get up.
Yeah.
Get hard.
Yeah.
Vasectomy.
Yeah, you know, we've gone through half of the show,
I know
and we
actually
haven't really talked about this yet, which is kind of funny.
I want to have it. I didn't Google because I don't know exactly what happened. So vasectomy, can you explain to me what that is actually? What do they do?
Yeah, totally. And I kind of want to segue to that, like to doing it. It was kind of like coming from that living up to being a man sort of thing. Like a man that can't make kids, is he a man? And it's like, but I've done that. So what if I like want to have more fun without ruining shit anymore? You know, like what if I want to have good quality fun? Like what if it's been 32 years where I haven't acknowledged my inner boy? Maybe it's time for him to come out and play, you know? Like maybe that's the reason why there's so many like angry man-child warriors out there. It's like I don't really regret anything. Like I definitely imagine my son or my daughters, you know, like looking at, imagine when they have the tools to make informed decisions, and you see it happening around the world with masks and vaccines, and that's a whole other thing. But it's like living up to the standard of a man. It was literally just came down to like, well, what do I want? Like, because it's great to be like, oh, I'm going to be good for them, good for like the family or the community or the world. And it's like, they all do factor in. But if I make the first step of that decision based on them or them out there, I come last, which means I would then feel manipulated, which means I would then feel resentment, which means I wouldn't be a happy member of society or the family or any of that. And because I've done something out of obligation and guilt rather than responsibility and self-worth. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, fuck.
But this decision itself, we know that there's the 5 kids. We know the last child, Alice, wasn't planned. And now you're in this situation. So what happens to you when you say, I'm going to, like, what is the moment when you say, I'm going to do this? Like, how does that happen? Like, you didn't have to, and you did. So what happened?
Let's talk myself into it.
And where did you first hear about it? Did someone tell you, or how did you even get acquainted with the idea of vasectomy?
Well, I've known about it for forever. I mean, there's jokes, and older people probably talked about the snip when I was a kid, and you know, movies and probably things like that. And then after like the experience of waiting for Alice to arrive, I guess, while she grew, it was like I'd Google it and I'd be like, why am I thinking about it? Why am I Googling this? And then I'd be like, well, you know, and after a while, it was like, got to a point where in my head, it was like, well, maybe it's not such a weird thing. And I even posted in some men's communities and got feedback, you know, and I just started going, well, you know what I think about, and shout out to Yana and Yuniso for giving me this thing of like what I think about and what I speak and what I do. They're 3 entirely separate worlds, which give me space to explore my thoughts, talk about things, write about things. And then maybe I don't have to go and do it. Maybe I just go and get a quote, or maybe I go and talk to the doc about it. And it's just like edging towards it. Where's the edge? Like, would I actually, because, previous Richie, a few, layers slapped back on, he'd be just like, yeah, fuck it, let's go do it. No more kids.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm fine. And then, the wasteland of my life afterwards would be, why did I do that? Like, without really thinking about it. And there's no one to say that still won't happen. Who knows? But I really gave it as much due diligence as I really thought I could, because the cost of not doing it was just driving me insane.
Yeah.
Like what it's connected to. Yeah. So,
because a lot of people don't. They thought about it a lot of years. They've got 5, 6, 7 kids. They still think about it, but then they don't do it. So you then took the next step and said, I'm actually going to do this. And how did that feel?
Well, like making the decision and the booking and all of that, it was like, no, I've got this. I think I've, cleared things and worked things out. And then on the day, I was just like, oh, what am I doing? Like still there, like, oh, this is heavy. And it just made me think like a lot of shit came up. Like, and it was just so such a simple, hey, how you going? We're going, gonna check your balls out, jump on the table, do this thing. And it's like, it's actually really easy. It's painless. It's easy. It was so, but the feeling when it was happening, it was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm butchering myself. Like the word butch. And I was like, cause it's like, you could hear the tools in that.
So
And
you're awake during the operation.
yeah, you can go to hospital and get put to sleep, but it's like a blood test. Like there was no feeling. Like they put anesthetic there, and just the doctor in his thing. Nothing shady, just very light, and some nice music going. And
how long was it? How long was the operation, or was it an operation? This
surgery? Yeah, it was like I might have been in there for 30 minutes max. Like,
okay.
It's such a weird thing because it's like I was like, oh, I was expecting like I don't know. I was like, you think you build it up, and I built it up, and then I built it down. Then I got there, and my subconscious, whatever was there, was still like, you're doing something totally foreign against your primal instincts, and everything society would probably, well, not everything, but what a what. But then I was like, but there's like parts. Half and half. Yeah. So one part's like dying, like when Bambos called me, and I was like, how are you feeling? I go, I'm grieving. Someone in me died. Like, that was the thing. It was like, I wanted to feel guilty, or like I wanted to punish myself for doing this thing to me. And I was like, but I chose this. I really thought about it. So why am I feeling this? And it was, oh, this is grief, not guilt. Like, it was grief around the part of me that had been irresponsible or felt manipulated or had allowed his power to be taken away, or even as a kid, like it was connected all the way back to then. And it was like, oh, from then to now, the timeline's just clearing itself up, and I'm actually healing, and it's just really fucking painful. And that hurt more than my balls did.
Yeah.
Way more. But it was like necessary, because the last thing I wanted to do was, and it wasn't even about, it's corny as fuck. I love my partner. I love Ellie, like I don't want, like the idea of risking her going through all of that again. Like, and we, or her being on the pill and that ruining her body, or her getting surgery. And from what it sounds like, it's so much harder and more complicated for a woman. I was like, well, this is something I can do to make things right for me first, and for the things that matter to me, like my current children, my partner, and then that's gonna, from the inside out, gonna really maybe shape things better. And it felt like a big fucking goal, like ticked off, like, like your 10,000 steps, how epic you feel. And it's like, there's some things you do every day, and then there's something that you might just do once a lifetime, or maybe you normally wouldn't. And I was like, well, yeah, guys, like, fuck. So many things connected to it. But you know how we're saying, like, comparing to what a man should be, and I was like, well, if anyone's choosing to take anything I do as a signal to improve or live or choice, I put myself publicly to not take my advice and do what I'm doing. It's like, if you can learn anything off me, maybe, take what's useful.
Yeah.
And so working with more and more men, the key thing I found is around, well, did you follow through on the thing you said you'd do? Because if you did, the more of that there is there, the more I can trust that person. And I was like, so this was about me trusting me.
Yeah.
And giving others maybe that sort of possibility, perspective. Yeah.
You said some beautiful things here. Like there's so much. I loved how when you said guilt and then you turned it to grief, and just recognizing the grief I found that a beautiful like I'm really celebrating you right now. It feels like there's a consciousness, a presence there. And I also loved how you, like, men always are like, oh, I don't want to use a condom, it's horrible, so the woman has to take this fucking thing in her body, and or a spiral, and all of a sudden her whole cycle gets shifted
Yeah.
and her hormones, and it's like, oh, actually this man took responsibility, where most men
Fine.
would push it onto her.
Well, it took what? I lost my virginity at 14. So it's like 15, 17 years of me pushing that shit onto women, where I pressured, manipulated, forced, coerced, all of that. That's abuse, right?
Yeah.
And coming to this is why I want to use that word manipulation, or I want to use that word abuse, because as a society we don't like that word. It's like, I couldn't be that. It's like, no, I was abusive. I've been abusive in many different ways, and the only way to change something is to own it, to become aware of it. And I was like, well, if I want her to treat me better, it's like, well, obviously she's a reflection of me, and so is my ex or any of that. And it was like, fuck, I really got to look at who I've been, and that's not easy. To finally say that to like a public thing on the world, where it's like, and I don't mean to cut you off about like the thing that women will have to take, and he finally did it. He's a good guy. It's like, I probably like I just done something, like I've done all this other stuff. It was like overdue to do this and to share this, and I guess I would hate to. I mean, at the end of the day, like if it's all healing, whether it's hard or it's not. And then if it's like for my daughter or my sons, it's funny thinking about this. I've never really, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through thing, but maybe they have to, or maybe they go through something else instead of this. Like, who knows?
Yeah, but we can't take that away from them.
That would be unfair. Yeah.
The following up from the grief, when you switched it to grief, which I could identify certainly with more, was that I'd say in every phase of my life where there's been a change, which felt like it had a fundamentally different. I excluded future possibilities. A decision was made that excludes future possibilities. Of course, that can be done through an operation, as you've done, or it can be done just as a life decision, where you say from this moment forward, I won't let that person. It's unacceptable. They can't be in my life anymore, even if it's me, that person, and me, not necessarily another. And what I was sensing, at least, is that there's a sort of an identity that you have to allow to die in that new way of being. And if you could like speak to that, would you say there was an identity you had to let die in going through the vasectomy? And if so, would you be able to name that identity of you and what it was?
I guess it's like, it'd have a really long name. I'd have to think about it a bit longer to like pull an archetype of like who he would be.
Yeah.
But like, elements or maybe like traits, there'd be like angry, abusive, manipulative. There's a sense of littleness to him, wanting to inflate himself to seem bigger, like a there's like this. It's like a tyrannical man.
Yeah.
Maybe like a really scared and hurt man. A really scared man. Yeah.
Wow.
Who was really just doing everything he could to get love because he forgot how to love himself. He didn't know how to put himself first or how to give himself. Well, he did know how. He just didn't believe he deserved to give himself what he needed first. That's like I said, no archetype. Come back to
and you're telling me that that man is the one you said goodbye to with this operation?
I'd say that the making the commitment to letting that guy, to letting go of that guy, like he's no longer, letting him, letting that identity, it's like a placeholder, like the one who's got the maybe like the center of gravity of, like, if we've got all these identities, it's like he dies being, you know, the key, the head.
Yeah, I mean,
not
the
driving
identity, exactly. It's not that these things aren't also part of us. We've often discussed this, of course. It's just no longer in the driver's seat. I got it. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it's like he's out, and so who's in?
Wow. Well, it sounds like this had a beautiful impact way beyond the vasectomy itself then.
Well, that's really yes. Yes.
And who are you after the vasectomy that you admire or are proud of more than you were before the vasectomy?
Well, I'm sure that tyrannical guy has his uses still, and I'm not uncertain about that. And I guess he will resurface when I find new things, and I'll get new lessons from him. But I think what I've done here is, if life was like a thing we can play a million times sort of thing, like a VR game or something, and it's like, this was a really hard level, and it was probably a level that if there's like multiple choices or doors to go down or whatever, it's like, I probably, out of the infinite amount of choices, to play this game and infinite amounts, I probably haven't done that door yet. I think I broke like a pattern that like opened something up where, and so who's in the seat now? It's like more of my truest self. Like whoever I am outside of this game, I'm more of him. I'm like, in the simplest answer, it's like I'm more of love. I hope that's what I've done. I think that's what I've done, because I feel better and things are flowing in life. Like, bang, here we are talking. Didn't have to really.
That's the way I would describe things for me, by the way. I'd use the same wording, is that there are just parts of me that have been learned to love more. So the self-love that you mentioned earlier. And through that, I'm just being. And then things come up in the state of being. And then how much can I welcome the feelings that show up at the moments that I can't plan them or expect them? And then that's the surrender over and over again.
Yeah, instead of trying to like force things. Yeah, you just allow them. And suddenly it's like, well, I'm not controlling this tiny little bit of the universe. And because shit just keeps happening, because I'm trying to just, this is mine. And it's like, fine. And then suddenly it's, well, here you go. Like everything you wanted, because like it's
once you say you're anything, the world will knock you on the head 10 times over, so that you can surrender to the fact that you're also not that. Yes, or it'll kill you at the end.
Either way, it's going to get you. So just work out what you really, really want, and just go for that first, I think, is what I'm learning. It's like,
what's your next best step? That's kind of how I live.
Yeah, I love that. It's a good way to go, I reckon.
As long as you have a general idea, like, I want to be in that vicinity, but if I control it too far out, it's going to be really hard to get there, because I can't define the journey. I can kind of more or less, say we're going to move. I mean, I have to bring this subject up because every show the last few weeks always has to have the Spanish home in it. That's a new theme for me. But 2 years ago this week, Bambos and I took a trip to Spain, and he was doing a photo shoot there, and I was his sidekick. I was the stylist, actually. I was styling the food.
I just said, hey, Andy, I'm going to Hidden Paradise, which is a retreat center. I'm like, I don't mind going alone, but if you want to join, we can have some fun in this beautiful space. And he joined.
And so that was 2 years ago. And when I was there, I'm like, wow, I want to live in this place. I want to have an opportunity to spend. And that was 2 years ago. And my wife is much more linear. She's like, if you want to be in a place, then you have to go to the agent, organize viewings. And I was like, babe, just set an intention in the world, and then let it kind of unfold and see when it feels good. And if it keeps feeling good, keep doing it. And when it doesn't feel good, then pull back. Because if you try to push it when it's not going good, then you're not going to be happy anyway. So surrendering to a process, but with a clear intention of wanting to be in that. So it ended up happening that we gave up, and then in the surrender of having given up, the property just showed itself. And then we just did it. It was a very quick decision. And I always told her in those 2 years, she's always like, we're never going to do this. We're never going to do this. And I was always, I don't know if we're going to do it or not. All I know is when it's right, we'll know it. And then we'll just let that guide us. And there's a mix of if I didn't have an intention, like you said, I wouldn't have put it into the world and let the vibration almost take me. And if I'd forced it any earlier, it wouldn't have been what I wanted anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's speaking to that.
Just to be clear, I witnessed him, he found a house, which was really nice, but the conditions weren't there for a full yes, but it was a really nice house in Spain. And he walked away from it because the conditions weren't there. And he really let go of it. But, I could feel that the vibration was there for him. So I went to Cyprus. He went to Ibiza. I'm like, hey, opportunity to look for a house. He's like, nah, this is really a holiday. And then 2 weeks in, he's like, hey, we're buying a house.
That's the strategy. That's the ultimate strategy. It's not a strategy.
Exactly.
It's the underneath. Yeah.
It's the underneath. And I think a lot of people have a very hard time setting an intention or desire and then allowing their intuition to guide them.
You used a beautiful word last week, dream.
Yeah.
To allow yourself to dream and wonder and allow it to unfold.
Yeah, because I think there's a mix where I allow the opportunities to guide me. A lot of people will try to put in linear structures to say, we're going to do this and and sometimes I do that as well. I can't say that. But when I go into processes where I want my heart to be connected to the thing the outcome, then I have to let my heart guide me more than my head in my own life.
Well, what I do with myself as an actual thing, and with clients for manifesting or getting a thing, there's a process. You could do a manifestation clear from the spiral stuff, or the other one would be like a breakout, 90-day, where you dream, then you set the goal, the target, and you nail that on the wall, and that's your vision. And this whole journey is your mission. And what people do is they'll get stuck at looking at, wanting to know all the steps. Or they'll get caught up in that and not take the first step. Or they just, I think the best thing you can do is just decide. Just be choose. I am 100%. I don't really know or care how, what. I just know this thing and why. And the when might not even be a thing. It's just, and this is what I say. This is what I look at myself and with the clients. The key thing is, what's the thing I'm avoiding the most? What's the last thing you want to do? What's the thing that scares you the most that will get you there quicker? Rather than the 1,000-step plan, it's, you can reverse engineer like the Army or the Navy do. That's great. You still got to, what's the hardest thing? You go and slay that beast first, and then just sit back and chill. And I bet that I'd bet $10 on it. That you face. Only 10. I'm not really into betting much these days. You get the,
Yeah, you ended up with Lucy because of a bet.
Yeah. It's magic though, man. You find that thing you're scared of, and the things that we're scared of, that's where the gold is. Yeah. That's how you get what you want instead of hustling. It's because you got to do the inside work. You got to deal with that stuff in your heart, like you're saying, and that's hard. That's really hard.
Richie, I noticed in the back of my head there's a bit of a taboo question that I want to ask.
Yeah. Okay.
What exactly do they do in a vasectomy?
Yes. So I don't know.
I was going to say taboo question. That would have been the first question. The first question for a good interviewer, Bambos, would have been, what's a vasectomy?
He's really just.
I could have Googled it, right?
No. I mean, I don't. I mean, I know that at the end of it, you can't have, or you're not supposed to. But what is the difference between in your system? Like, what's different now that you've had a vasectomy?
Well, they cut this thing and now it's longer, but no, not really. That's another bad joke. But what they do is like, they basically, everything still works perfectly as it is, except that they've severed, the doctor has like tiny little incision, like it's like a blood test basically, like you wouldn't know. On my ball sack there is a tiny little cut, and they numb it, prepare it, and pull out the cord that connects and directs the sperm.
Okay, where does that cord go afterwards?
And what they do is then they either cut it, clamp it, tie it, cauterize it, depends. So you see how, you're feeling all that. And I'm like, wow, I'm fucking talking about this. So, and there's two. So there's one for each side. And there's a variety of, like, there's about 3 or 4 ways that they can sort of stop the flow, but they basically separate it, cap it, whatever they do there, depending on the doctor, right? It's just, and then from there, they just let it. I think pretty much that's it, really. It's just so simple.
Yeah.
And
how long afterwards are you not allowed to have sex? Like, how much time between the actual operation and the?
Okay, so they say like.
I didn't.
Well, it's a good question.
It's a great question.
No, it's great, because the doctor said, like, look, wait 7 days before you go bike riding, doing jiu-jitsu, running, any, sex, anything. And he said the first 24 to 48 hours, just sit on the couch, bag of peas, watch Netflix, do that. No funny business, nothing. And I gotta say it.
What do you gotta say?
Oh man. So I don't know. I was pretty fine. Like I was like, I think I'm all good. And then I did some Googling, and it was like, look, I can walk. I'm actually, I didn't really even need medication. I was like, I think I'm all good. And so my partner came over before the 7 days were up, and I think that's the first time a woman's left my house where I had a limp. I don't know if that's a joke or not, but I thought it was pretty funny. But
I'm trying to, first of all, you have to realize I'm still cringing from the moment when you said cauterize.
I've got to have some fun out of this, though, man.
Please have as much fun as you want, but you're going to have a hard time getting me to laugh with the word cauterize coming next to anything in my body.
In the same sentence.
In the same sentence. So so you did not find any physical difference outside of maybe that you were even more I don't know what you call it, strong after the operation.
Yeah, like it definitely wasn't weaker. I was just like, look, number one is, it's like, if I'm fit, I guess you see, it's probably that tyrannical guy. He's like, don't tell me what to do. Like, but I really thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. But, it wasn't like, I was just like, it was a very intimate thing. It was like, I did this thing, not just for me, and also for us, and for, and I was like, I was like, man, I'm kind of, this is very, very, like, it's a vulnerable reconnecting. It was like, the first time, it was like the first time, like better, like way better than, first times are terrible when you're 14, but it was like a really intimate experience of, I'm more of me, and I can tell that, like, not being in living together at the moment, not being in business, but journeying all this stuff separately. And now there's this And in 3 months, like, you know, to see us go from really bad to like better than we've ever been, and better than we've ever been with anybody else ever, and better than anyone else we know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I've worked something out, like that strategy. And it was, but you know,
Beautiful.
So we've canceled. Yeah. So we're gonna just wait a couple of weeks now. So like, I'm just like, well, it still works really well.
How long has it been since you actually had the operation now?
Been like pretty much a week tomorrow. So
wow.
what
I didn't realize it was just a week ago. This is fresh.
This is what I mean. I didn't like they're worried about those things they've disconnected, reconnecting, or for like any of the movement from anything to like bruise or swell or inflame and things like that. But all good.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Like everyone's different. So like, it's not like, hey, just don't listen to your doctor. It's like, think about who you are and what's going on. If you go and do it, you know, it's not advice at all.
Richie, what is like, we always say we have a relationship with our genitals. How do you relate to that part of your body right now? Like if you stand naked in the mirror, how is that for you?
The relationship with all of it down there is finally beginning to work. Like there's communication happening, you know, like you know how you said like, oh, I couldn't get an erection, you know, and like, you know, but 10 years ago, been there, had that conversation, like, what do you know, and it's like, I think my body is, rather than just down there, like, I guess I'm still like the honest sort of the straight answer is I'm getting okay with that part of me. Like learning to go, well, that is part of me and that is how it is and that's the way it is, and extra medium is what we say. You know, that's my joke with my place. I feel, you know, extra medium.
When you described your intimate connection that you had with your partner, it felt actually that you were more connected in your balls, but also more tender. The way you talked about it.
Yeah, it was tender. The experience was very, very tender and intimate and loving and grounded and primal and like just like weird animal. Like it's I could finally be me. More of me. And in the months coming, because you've got to shoot off at least 20 rounds and wait 3 months for a test to really be like stamped. It's not like, oh, you're all good. So you've got to sort of still use, you know, certain methods and that, and maybe not, you know, complete the thing and that. You've got to.
Got it.
Yeah.
You're not 100% guaranteed of anything until you come back for a test. Got it.
So we're, you know,
you're in waiting.
Yeah.
Bola Long from South Africa. He says he has 4 kids with 2 women, and this is normal. And my father had 9 with 1 woman.
Wow. My father had 7 with 3 women.
Wow.
And he likes our talks because the deep discussions. Thank you, Bola Long. He also says, I can relate with what Rich is talking about when deciding to do a vasectomy. I considered it, but have not done it.
Do we need some coaching sessions?
Yes. Can you offer coaching for Bola Long should he decide to have a vasectomy?
Well, if he's still thinking about it, reach out. If he's happy with his decision, then I fully say good for you and support your choice to do whatever feels right for you. So
what would you say if you had if someone was thinking about getting a vasectomy, what would you suggest to them as
First step,
besides educating, obviously, on the logistics? Like, what's the thing you think that would be most important to understand?
Well, I guess with any big decision or a small decision, you look at the outcome and go, is the outcome what I want? And then you look at the intention of that whole thing and going, you know, am I making this decision from a wounded part of me? Or am I, I mean, we can never really fully know either, but we can get information, talk, you know, we can explore that. But ultimately, it's like for anything, it's like whether I'm going to help my partner with the kids in the morning, or if I'm going to, you know, agree to do a podcast later than I do anything, you know, like ever. And then I'm like, but the intention and the purpose of it, it's like, but this is actually in alignment with what I want. And so somehow, like all my shit was coming up because of rules I've made around, you know, doing things later. And then suddenly I'm like, I got all this energy now. We could talk all night, you know. It's those wounded patterns, when you're breaking them, they make you think you're tired, or they make you think you're angry, or they make you crazy. But it's following through on that is so important. You've got to have people around you that you trust, that won't just agree with you, that will disagree with you.
Yeah.
There's things you can, you know, people that, will help you with your best interests, but won't just be like, or just shut you down. It's people that will listen. Friends, good friends.
I think that was very. I think the one statement that I could see both Bambos and I sign was the are you driven by the fear and a shadow that you're not aware of, or are you doing it because you're clear on what the outcome you want is? And that's as far as you can see in alignment. And as we all know, there's part of us we won't see, but that's also part of life. So, yeah.
And taking that into account, that we don't see everything.
And accepting that as well. Nice.
The hard part's knowing, like, this is the human thing. It's like, am I doing this like on gut feels and intuition? Because intuition, it doesn't just take us to rainbows, it takes us to the shit as well. Intuition isn't like it's the good thing. It's rainbows and shit. It's shitstorms. Like, it's both. Because intuition, I think, is designed as a mechanism, if someone did design it, to help us get what we want. Those submissions, those I want this thing. I wish. And then it's like, well, there you go. It's like, hang on. Knowing, like, am I choosing this from anger or fear or whatever, or am I doing it from the opposite place? Because they all come from the same place ultimately. Ultimately, it all comes from the same place. It's just like, do you want to navigate it with a bunch of scary things, or
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for, I mean, Monday show is normally our day where we get to talk. I told Andy, hey, listen, this is quite fresh in the guy. He has a yes. We could wait till September because we're booked, but I'm like, let's bring him on now.
Yeah, so he booked over one of our normal shows, which Bambos has never done in the history of us working together. So that was like, wow, Bambos, you're booking over our show? Great, I'm in it. Wow. I'm in.
We broke rules. Like, this has created some other butterfly effect, I reckon. Yeah.
It's been really beautiful spending this hour with you. It was very worth it.
Yes.
And it goes beyond vasectomy. It's really about life decisions, scary decisions, taking risks, and not knowing what we're saying yes to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much substance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for, getting me on here and, calling, and thanks for reaching out. And this is I don't
want you to suffer and write another post. Now you can just share this and you're done.
Yeah. For those of you that want to wade through an hour of content, here you go.
It'll be a good read or view. Yeah.
No, Thank you. Good. Thank you so much, Richie.
Love you, man. Thank you.
Much
love you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
How are you feeling?
Good. I was like that snipping at the end. I always have a very sensitive reaction when we talk about poop or blood. Those are sort of, trigger words for me. I feel them in my body. Ronnie has some Netflix series called Chicago Fire on, and they show like these horrific accidents, and like it's like I'll be like walking in the room and then like see some, like there was some video yesterday with a guy with something shot through his, and it's very realistically filmed, so it's not like you have to imagine it. And I'm like, baby, please, and I ran out of the room. Like,
why would anyone watch that? Seriously.
Just because she just hasn't got enough cortisol through her system. She needs something else to add to the stress.
I love it.
Funny.
Thanks, man. This was
great.
Was great.
I love it. And we've got 4 more shows this week. I don't know.
And we don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is. So we hope to see you there regardless.
Just go to Facebook, check our events.
Yes.
Wonderful Chaos. And
yeah,
have a beautiful Monday. This was it.
Beautiful Monday.
It's as good as it gets.
As good as it gets. Thank you. Till tomorrow.